1,000,000 Years A.D. by Samantha Faulkner. Narrated by Alison Campbell. Never trust a man in a white coat. That is a lesson I hadn't properly learned until today. I've met my fair share of megalomaniacs. As an android secret agent, you're bound to come across a few. But even so, you don't expect to find them on your own turf. 10 minutes, I was told by the professor in the white coat, and then I could head off to the Purple Pussy for dinner with my old friend, Simon Hunt. I was happy to help out. I have good reason to be grateful to the boys in K Division at the moment. I have just come back from a particularly bruising mission in Central Europe, and the lads have performed a complete overhaul of my systems, which has left me feeling in particularly fine fettle. That is no excuse, however, for what has just happened. "It won't take 10 minutes, Professor Llewellyn tells me with his usual enthusiasm. He is the assistant head of K Division, a sprightly geriatric scientist with gangly, awkward limbs and a fatherly twinkle in his eye. "Just something we want to try out." He points me cheerfully in the direction of a small domed vehicle, not unlike an Apollo space capsule. I ask the obvious question. "What is it?" Llewellyn bubbles with excitement. "We call it a chrono capsule, our latest wheeze. It's only in the experimental phase." "What does it do?" The professor grins and lifts a finger. He enjoys a good lecture, and I am happy to indulge him. "It generates a small tear in the fabric of space-time, through which we hope to send tiny parcels of information." "What kind of information?" "Well, hopefully, people information. That's what we want to test." He gestures me towards the capsule. "We've managed to translate a couple of mice into a long sequence of binary code and then propel them and the capsule 2.5 minutes into the future. But now we want to extend things a little further." "You want to send me into the future?" "That's the ticket," he beams. "We're not quite ready for a full-grown human yet, but your relatively simple circuitry should translate perfectly." I decide not to take offense at the simple. "So, how far forward do you intend to send me?" I am meeting Simon Hunt at 7:30, and I will need a couple of hours to prepare. "Oh, only 10 minutes, Llewellyn replies breezily. "We're fairly confident we've got our sums right." Fairly confident is hardly inspiring, but Llewellyn is so full of boyish enthusiasm I am not inclined to doubt him. This man has more letters after his name than the Queen, and he has just overseen a significant upgrade to my weapons capability. And so, a few minutes later, I find myself willingly strapped inside the metal capsule, with the bright hum of experimental machinery throbbing all around me. "From your point of view, you shouldn't notice anything at all," Llewellyn informs me through the entry hatch. "We flick a switch and you move forward in time. From our point of view, the capsule will disappear as your atoms are torn apart and reduced to binary information. That code will be transmitted through a tiny crack the machine will have opened up in space-time, and the capsule will be reassembled in exactly the same position 10 minutes later, as if nothing has happened. Here, take this." He hands me a plastic wristwatch. It is one of these newfangled digital models. They're not on the market yet, so I'm lucky to have one. Not that I really needed a watch. My internal chronometer is good for several thousand years, but it is clearly more for the professor's benefit than mine. "That'll help us map out the time differential," he says, as I strap it onto my wrist. "Make sure you don't touch anything in there." He chuckles and cheerfully closes the heavy metal hatch, locking it firmly from the outside. Through the porthole, I see him move over to a large bank of computers. There are lots of flashing lights and whirring tape spools. Professor Llewellyn flicks a few switches and then gives me a thumbs up. "Good luck!" he calls. I take a moment to look over some of the equipment inside the capsule. There are a fair number of flashing lights in here as well, not to mention dials and several clunky levers. It really could be the inside of a spaceship or the cockpit of a jumbo jet. Perhaps I should ask the professor what some of these buttons do, just in case anything goes wrong. Before I get the chance, there is a loud ripping sound, and all at once the view through the porthole changes. I am no longer in the laboratory. Daylight is streaming into the capsule. Bright sunlight, in fact. "Professor Llewellyn!" I call out, but there is no reply. I look down at the hatch below the window, and only now do I realize that there is no handle on the inside. How on earth am I supposed to get out of this thing? I glance down at my digital watch. It bleeps happily but tells me nothing useful. As far as it is concerned, no time at all has passed, and my internal chronometer is in full agreement. Outside the capsule, the reality is somewhat different. Goodness knows where I have ended up. I was supposed to move through time, not through space, but I am definitely not in the laboratory anymore. I could lie back in the capsule and wait for somebody to rescue me. Professor Llewellyn has probably just got a few wires crossed, and he's bound to sort it out eventually. But I am not the kind of girl to sit and wait. I've got a hot date in a few hours, and I need time to prepare. I'm damned if I'm going to miss the entree because I'm stuck in a tin can. In the absence of a handle, there is only one way out of the machine. I pull back my fist and smash through the glass porthole. The plate shatters with satisfying ease. I pull back my arm and gaze at it happily. The boys in K Division have done a really good job upgrading my servos. That's one hell of a punch I've got now. I will withhold any further appreciation, however, until after I have stepped out of the capsule. I reach a hand through the broken window, pull on the outside handle, and, with some difficulty, swing open the hatch. The chronocapsule is resting on a small plateau. There is a wall of rock behind me, with a large cave off to the right. The air is fresh and unpolluted, the soundscape distinctly pastoral. That is odd. I switch my audio receptors to maximum. I cannot fault the volume of noise. I can hear birds, insects, the sea in the distance, large animals even. But I cannot detect anything remotely artificial. No cars, no aeroplanes, no radio, not even the BBC. Isn't that typical? I have just had my audio sensors upgraded so I can listen to Radio 1, and the damned station isn't even broadcasting. The boys at K Division have really messed up this time, I mutter. It is only when I hear the heavy, thumping footsteps of a large animal lumbering towards me that I begin to realize how badly they have cocked up. At first, I have no idea that the animal approaching me is a fully grown dinosaur. From the noise, I assume it must be some kind of elephant. But when the creature lumbers into view with a large rodent-like animal jammed between its teeth, I am quickly able to make the correct classification. It is an Allosaurus, a huge and distinctly carnivorous dinosaur. It is not just a matter of a change in location. Those idiots in the lab have sent me spiraling back through time. I don't have any time to reflect on this. The Allosaurus may have a brain the size of a tennis ball, at least according to my databanks, but its eyes work well enough and it has spotted me already. It's odd. I have seen dinosaur skeletons in the Natural History Museum in London, I know they are big, but nothing quite prepares you for the reality. This beast must be 30 feet long and at least 15 feet high. A row of slavering teeth are revealed as it drops its lunch and abruptly hurtles towards me. I had not realized an animal like that could move so quickly. I am pretty flight of feet, especially since my upgrade, but this particular dinosaur could outpace an Olympic athlete. I have no choice. If I cannot outrun it, I will have to shoot the damn thing and causality be damned. I click my machine guns into place. The shiny new gun barrels slide effortlessly out of my dress. But then I remember I haven't had time to visit the armory yet. Drat. My boobs are completely empty. What else can I do? The only other option, apart from ending up as lunch, is to retreat into the chronocapsule. That is not such a good idea. I swing the hatch shut behind me, but the Allosaurus runs at it and clamps the entire vehicle in its mouth, lifting the capsule right up into the air. It smacks it hard against the rock wall, and I am thrown about like a beetle in a jam jar. I didn't have time to strap myself in, so I am quickly on the receiving end of a massive battering. It's just as well I won't be meeting up with Simon Hunt this evening. I think I may have smudged my lipstick. At this point, my audio receptors pick up some strange grunting noises nearby. Footsteps padding in my direction, real human feet. The Allosaurus has heard the noise too. It drops the chronocapsule, causing me to smash my head into an overhead battery pack, and turns to face its new adversaries. I clutch my battered bonce and peer out of the shattered porthole to see what is going on. A group of hairy cavemen are taunting the sharp-toothed dinosaur. The men are either very brave or very stupid, probably both. They are carrying iron spears and are darting in close to the creature from a variety of different angles, hoping to disorientate the mighty beast. Wait a minute. Cavemen? Dinosaurs? At the same time? That makes no sense. My databanks are clear. Dinosaurs have been extinct for 65 million years. When I first saw the Allosaurus, I naturally assumed I had travelled way back in time. But these men, for all their hairy beards and admirable lack of clothing, are anatomically modern humans. I'd recognise biceps like that anywhere. And people like this didn't start running around in loincloths until at least a couple of 100,000 years ago. Which makes their presence here, taunting old Big Mouth, just a little bit surprising. What in God's name is going on? The tribesmen have had enough with teasing the Allosaurus. Now they are launching their spears at it. The animal shrieks as some of the spikes rip through its thick hide and even draw blood. Its tail thrashes heavily and a man is knocked, flying through the air. There is method in the hunter's madness, however. They are goading the dinosaur, moving it in a particular direction. Abruptly, I hear a rumble as a large boulder comes crashing down from above. There are more men above us, up on the ridge. The tribesmen in front of me scatter just in time as the boulder smacks hard into the head of the Allosaurus and knocks the poor animal for 6. The creature sways for a moment, a puzzled expression on its hideously distorted face, and then crashes to the ground. The cavemen let out a coarse cheer. The injured man, who has thrown a good 20 feet, is tended to at once, while others move in to finish the dinosaur off. One guy, clearly their leader, is shouting out guttural instructions to the others. I am not sure if it is a language as such or just random grunts, but the others seem to defer to him. The man is hairy and ruggedly handsome, though his beard is not long and his chest is strangely denuded. A loincloth clings to his backside and his body is slicked with sweat. He turns now and looks straight at me through the broken window of the chronocapsule. I can almost hear the cogs of his brain working as he does a double take and then moves in to get a better look. I have not been trained for first contact situations. I am not quite sure what the procedure is. Oh well, when in doubt, smile sweetly and flutter your eyelashes. I push a hand through the window pane and reopen the door. The chronocapsule is lying on its side, so it is a bit of a struggle getting out. The caveman stares at me, not offering to help. He has piercing blue eyes, and his gaze is fixed like a statue on my face. The other hunters have stopped what they are doing, and they too are staring at me. I glance down at my chest to make sure I haven't popped out, but no, everything is in order. I am wearing a red mini dress and white plastic boots, but they are not looking at my clothes. It is my hair that seems to be fascinating them. The leader squats in front of me and moves a hand to my face. He touches a strand of hair hanging beneath the Alice band. Suddenly, I understand. All of these cavemen have dark brown hair. They have never seen a blonde woman before. No wonder their mouths are hanging open. They don't know what they've been missing. The leader's hand traces the strand of yellow down to my neckline, and all at once his hands are on my boobs. I slap him hard across the face, and he looks momentarily startled. The other men start to laugh, and he grins sheepishly. The ice has been broken. The leader thumps a hand against his chest. "Akaba," he says. I clasp a hand to my own chest. "Sally," I say. "Gary," he repeats as best he can. I shake my head. "Sally." "Guy." That's close enough. "Pleased to meet you," I say, extending a hand. Akbar regards it dubiously, then grabs the hand, pulls it towards him, and throws me over his back. I suppose I have to make allowances. He is a caveman after all. He carries me over to the rest of the group and plants me down in front of the Allosaurus, which has now gone to meet its maker. Some of the hunters are hacking bits of flesh away from it. Akbar hands me a large chunk of the stuff and watches me expectantly. I think he wants me to eat it. I take a mouthful of the vile, uncooked meat and try not to retch. Instead, I make a few contented noises. That pleases him, and the other men start to tuck in. Don't tell me these people haven't discovered fire yet. Surely they can't be that primitive. Enormous birds with sharp beaks and vicious-looking talons circle above us as the hunters swiftly chop up as much of the dinosaur as they can carry. While their attention is focused on the task at hand, I return to the chronocapsule to ascertain how much damage has been done to the equipment. I lean in through the door and flick the power switch. The lights flicker briefly and then die. I look at one of the dials and see that the power supply is empty. It is the battery pack. That last blow from my head has smashed it to pieces. It is dripping acid now. Gingerly, I pull it out and throw it away. Apart from that, the machinery looks to be in good order. But for the power, I would probably be able to get it working again. Akbar is watching me curiously as I crawl out of the capsule. "Lagoda," he says, pointing down from the plateau. "Lagoda, paduke." He is gesturing away, and then at my clothes, and his clothes too. I have no idea what he is trying to say. At least, I hope I haven't. "Lagoda, paduke," he repeats. I walk over and peer down the trail. He grabs hold of me again and throws me over his shoulder. "I can walk," I protest, but he takes no notice. If anyone back home treated me like this, they'd be lucky to escape with their wedding tackle intact. But there is something primal about Akbar that convinces me to allow him a certain latitude. His sweaty body reeks of testosterone, and any ordinary woman would be hard-pushed to resist his earthy charms. As a fembot, of course, I am completely immune to such things, though I don't mind doing my bit for intercultural relations should the opportunity arise. I mean, should the need arise. The Lagoda, it turns out, is a small lake. A hyena which was drinking at the pool skitters fearfully away, and we are left to ourselves. Akbar whips off his loincloth and plunges into the clear blue water. I hesitate for a moment, then pull off my boots, strip down to my underpants, and, closing all unnecessary orifices, dive in after him. Akbar is grinning at me. Suddenly I understand what he was saying earlier. Come to the lake to wash. This caveman speak is a doddle after all. Akbar takes me in his arms and playfully pushes my head under the water. Laughingly, I knee him in the groin, and he takes it in good spirits. We splash and swim for a bit, then pull up onto the rocks. He pushes me onto my back, wipes the wet strands of blonde hair from my face, and looks down happily at my glistening artificial body. "Cook eaten?" he says with a grin. I don't need a dictionary to translate that. Men are the same the world over, even back in the Stone Age. Cookie tin, I agree. It is after dark by the time we arrive at the camp. It is a long trudge through the jungle in my underwear. That hyena crept back to the pool while Akbar and I were playing and ran away with my dress and my plastic boots. Akbar manfully offered me his animal skins, so at least I am partly covered up. The hunting party consists of about 20 men, including those who rolled the boulder down from the top of the cave. I wonder how many there are in the whole tribe. I glance around the campsite. About 50, I reckon, including almost a dozen children. Even in the darkness of a moonless night, I am a minor sensation. The hair grabs their attention first, then my underwear. I guess polyester hasn't been invented yet. One little boy twangs my bra strap and lets out a giggle. I stop myself from thumping him and make do with a quick clip around the ear. I must be getting soft in my old age, but I don't want to antagonize anybody. One young woman is paying particular attention to me, and I soon see why. Akbar greets her sheepishly and introduces her to me. "Gali, Utaka." "Batika, Gali?" Utaka says. I presume this is some kind of greeting. She takes note of the animal skin that Akbar has put around my shoulders. She purses her lips, but says nothing. Interest has already moved on. The women and children are setting to work on the meat, chopping it up into smaller chunks and starting to cook it. There do not seem to be any old people here. I guess life in the Stone Age must be pretty harsh. Akbar is perhaps 35, and there are a couple of other men of a similar age. Most of the women are barely 20. They all wear animal skins, a loincloth and some kind of fur bikini, but their flesh is dirty and covered in mud. They are also infested with fleas. The stench of their bodies has completely overloaded my nasal receptors. The people refer to themselves as the Gioconda tribe, which I gather means sharp tooth in their language. Every one of them carries a dagger made from the tooth of a dinosaur. Needless to say, Akbar has the biggest one, which is hanging down proudly from his waist. Entertainment for the evening is provided by a wailing dance around the cooking pot. This is an elaborate, ritualized performance. Akbar dons an animal skull on his head, a goat perhaps, and some of the others do likewise. I sit and watch as smoke fills the air and the men start to consume various dubious substances. To say I am confused would be an understatement. Not by the ceremony, but by this whole world. These people cannot really be living side by side with dinosaurs. It's absurd. I wonder if perhaps I have travelled into the future instead of the past, and this tribe is what human beings have regressed to. But that would not explain the presence of the dinosaurs. Maybe somebody else has been meddling with time, transporting a group of Stone Age warriors back 65 million years just for the hell of it. I've known a couple of mad scientists who wouldn't bat an eyelid at such an audacious scheme. But these people are too well adjusted to the Jurassic era to be considered newcomers. The Allosaurus tastes much better when cooked, with a bit of salt on it. I am not a connoisseur of food. I only eat to be sociable. But even from the texture, I can sense that this is a more pleasing meal. The women eat quietly while the men sit around the campfire, boasting about their hunting exploits. Even with my limited understanding of their language, I can tell the dinosaur is getting bigger and bigger. A couple of animal skins are provided for me to settle down on for the night. I am given a shack next to Akbar and his woman Utaka. I feel a bit embarrassed about shagging him now. I didn't think to ask if he was married. I overhear the two of them muttering angrily in their tent. In minutes, a full-blown row is blazing. "Cookietin pagali," Utaka accuses. "No, Cookietin," Akbar lies. Utaka isn't a fool, however. "Cookietin pagali." At this point, the dispute becomes physical. Akbar lets out a yelp as she starts bashing him over the head with what sounds like a wooden bowl. In the morning, everything is sweetness and light. Utaka brings me a gift, a necklace of seashells. She does not blame me for what has happened. As far as she is concerned, it was entirely down to her husband. It's good to know us girls stick together, even back in the Stone Age. After a quick breakfast of cold Allosaurus and berry juice, the women and children leave the camp to go foraging. The men are hungover from whatever dubious substances they were drinking and smoking last night, so I don't see sight nor sound of Akbar. I decide to tag along with the women. The small party winds its way through an arid, rocky wasteland to the north of the camp. I can tell it is north, not just because of the position of the sun, but via my own internal compass. The magnetic field appears to be inverted, however. South is north and north is south. Perhaps this isn't the Earth after all. Maybe I have landed on another planet. The path through the desert is well trodden, and, even with the birds circling above us, I do not feel unduly exposed. Utaka has provided me with some furs to wear over the top of my Marks and Spencer's underwear, but in the heat of the day they are completely unnecessary. I would probably be sweating buckets by now, if I had any sweat glands. In the distance, a triceratops is battling away with another herbivorous dinosaur that I cannot immediately identify. The creature has long horns, however, and there is a lot of head banging going on. I wonder how far such beasts venture out from the jungle into these dead lands. At this safe distance, the children point and giggle at the deadly battle. I have to admit, I am rather enjoying the journey. The women are pleasant company, gossiping among themselves, taking the piss out of their menfolk. It's surprising what you can pick up from gestures and tone of voice. I could get to like it living here with them. Back home, it is rare for me to go more than a day without being shot at by some megalomaniac or other, and it makes a welcome change to be among friends. Of course, I was nearly gored to death by an Allosaurus yesterday afternoon, but you can't have everything. We move back into greener territory and through thick woodland. The bushes and trees are laden down with berries. These could easily be collected, but the women prefer to skip past them, not even bothering to fill their baskets. Perhaps we will pluck a few on our way home. Another hour passes, and we move out of the forest into an orange grove. My positronic brain boggles. Cultivated land in the Stone Age. Fruit-bearing plants are growing in nice, neat rows, and beyond them, spread out like a tarpaulin, are dozens of other fields ripe with crops. That does it. I am now completely baffled. These tribal women have shown no sign of being farmers and, so far as I am aware, agriculture didn't get going until about 10,000 BC. Something very peculiar is going on here. Perhaps we really are on another planet. The women of the sharp-toothed tribe are looking furtive now. Even the children are not running about with their usual abandon. Utaka waves a finger at me, and together we start filling our baskets with fruit. Whoever these oranges belong to, they are not being grown for the benefit of the Gioconda people. Before I can speculate further, I hear the steady clatter of hoofbeats in the distance. Oh dear. I didn't spend 3 days working at a Wild West theme park without being able to recognize the sound of horses. It is a while before the other women cotton on. My hearing is much better than theirs. I gesticulate urgently in the direction of the noise, but Utaka just frowns. I try to see who is approaching, but the crops are too high and the figures are obscured. And then, with grim inevitability, a rifle fires and the women start to scream. I just knew this morning was too good to last. The children are running scared now, as are the rest of the company. The riders are already chasing them down. A bullet whistles past my ear, but I am unable to return fire. Note to self: never step into a time machine without loading your boobs first. Utaka is struck in the shoulder and falls to the ground a few yards to my left. I rush towards her, but a horse rears up in front of me, and I only just manage to avoid falling underneath its hooves. A baton hurtles down towards my head, courtesy of a shadowy rider, but I swerve just in time and grab hold of the weapon, pulling it towards me and unseating the mysterious figure. Her body smashes to the ground. It is a woman, a female, though unlike the cave women, she is properly dressed. She rises up and tries to grab a knife from the saddle of her horse, but I am too quick for her. I may not have any ammunition, but I have a mean right hook. I smack her across the chin, and to my surprise, her faceplate falls away. She is a fembot, like me. There is electronic circuitry behind the plastic skin. The woman makes the most of my hesitation and chops me hard across the neck. It is a good, solid blow. This girl is a professional. And I stagger backwards under the impact. Another rider rears up behind me, and I feel a second heavy thud across the back of my head. Meantime, nets are being brought forward to entrap the tribeswomen. Those who attempt to run are being chased across the fields. The riders don't seem to care much about trampling all over the crops. They are having far too much fun with the batons. As for me, I struggle as best I can, but 2 more riders have dismounted and are looping a rope around my body even as the first fembot is battering my head with her club. A noose is fastened around my neck, and when that is in place, my legs are kicked out from under me. Before I know what is happening, I am attached to the back of one of the horses and am being dragged on my arse through the prickly undergrowth. I have a vague notion that I hear some of the riders shouting to each other in English, but by now my senses are too disorientated to tell. The city of the Fembots is a remarkable place. It looks to have been carved out of solid rock. There are no straight lines anywhere, just lots of curved sandstone. It is not remotely futuristic, at least not what I would imagine the future to look like. The whole city has a medieval feel. There doesn't appear to be any electricity or central heating, judging by the acrid smoke coming out of the chimney pots, and the people are conservatively dressed. There is not a miniskirt or a negligee in sight. These women do not look like fembots at all. Instead, they are dressed in natural fibres, leather and wool, with pretty much every part of their anatomy below the neck covered up. The horses are real too, not mechanical simulations. And the fact that they use rifles and shotguns suggests these androids don't even have machine guns in their chest cavities. In many ways, they seem only a little less primitive than the cave women. Admittedly, my view of the city is rather restricted. I am in a cage being transported through the winding back streets of what I would hesitate to call a metropolis. Fembots are everywhere, in a surprising variety of shapes and sizes, but they are paying no attention to our mobile prison as it rattles along towards the animal enclosure. The townsfolk are simply going about their daily lives, sweeping the streets and buying fruit. There is a lot of background chatter, though. Conversations are taking place on every street corner, but no one seems to be opening their mouths. It is only when we have been deposited in the animal enclosure that I begin to make sense of that. These fembots communicate via radio waves rather than the spoken word. It is a novel idea for me. I have only recently been upgraded to receive wireless communications. "Come and look at this one," a rather cheerful fembot transmits, walking over with a friend to the metal bars behind which I have now been incarcerated. "Underneath the fur skin, see how finely made her undergarments are?" I draw the animal hide across my chest to cover myself up. I am still in my bra and pants. If I ever catch that thieving hyena, I will skin it alive. "Don't you have Marks and Spencers in this century?" I say. The two fembots exchange glances. "And yet she makes noises like the rest of the animals," the second woman observes. Fine, I think. I have never transmitted a thought before, but I'm sure it can't be that difficult. I locate the relevant subroutine, but unfortunately the system is offline. I curse. That rider must have hit me really hard on the head with her baton. An auto repair request has been logged, but the time frame is uncertain. I stare mutely at the two fembots. For all they know, I might just as well be another dumb human. I switch off my internal heating system. That should get their attention. If I go cold, they should pick up on the absence of a thermal trace. After all, none of them seem to have internal heating. But neither of the androids notices the sudden change in my body temperature. It is almost as if they don't realize they are fembots. "I'm Kinta," the shorter woman tells me. She has a cherubic face and twinkling eyes. Her manner is entirely friendly, maternal even, though she transmits slowly, as if trying to ascertain if I understand. "This is Rodell," she adds, gesturing to the second fembot. "Me, Sally," I say, beating my chest. I don't really have much choice but to resort to caveman speak. "You see," Rodell observes skeptically, "she doesn't understand." Kinta disagrees. "I think she does. I think that grunt was meant to be her name." Rodell rolls her eyes good-naturedly. She is the younger of the two, or at least her faceplate has been sculpted to make her appear younger. And the two androids bicker cheerfully, almost as if they are married. "We've been all over this, Kinta. I admit the sounds may represent some rudimentary communication, but it's nothing that we might call language." "She's strong, though," the older woman says. She caused some serious damage to one of the riders. Not many of these primitives could manage that. I am becoming exasperated. Would you please stop discussing me like I'm not in the room? Rodelle is worried by the volume of my voice. She's getting annoyed. I think we should probably leave her be. It'll be feeding time soon. Kinta smiles warmly at me, an attempt at reassurance. She reaches into a pocket and pulls out a small cube. Then she extends a hand through the metal bar. Careful, Kinta! She's a wild animal. She won't hurt me, will you, Brown Eyes? I shake my head and come forward. There is a small sugar lump in her hand. That just about sums up my day. I am now somebody's pet. The captured tribeswomen are imprisoned in the same complex as me, which seems to have been adapted from a pre-existing cave. Utaka is in a cage opposite, lying quietly on the floor. She looks to have been quite badly hurt, but nobody is providing her with any medical attention. The guards are a surly bunch, ugly and thick-set like gorillas. This is a type of fembot I recognize all too well. They are designed to be bulletproof, stronger and more resilient, but their extra strength comes at the price of speed and maneuverability. One of them, Fembot Mabala, really has it in for me. She doesn't like all the extra attention I am receiving. Every few hours, the guards hose the tribeswomen down with jets of water. In fairness, this is probably a good idea. My animal skins are infested with fleas, and the little critters have already spread to my synthetic hair. Oh, for a decent bottle of shampoo. But, rather than gently hosing me down as you might with a favoured pet, the nasty great ape aims the water cannon straight at my head and knocks me for 6. Mabala will be the first against the wall, come the revolution. Actually, I am wondering whether some sort of revolution has taken place to put these fembots in power in the first place, or maybe some kind of natural disaster. On balance, I am coming to the conclusion that we must be on another planet altogether in the far future. I thought I had been sent back to the Jurassic era, but it's beginning to look like I've landed on the planet of the fembots instead. Perhaps it is a colony world, maybe even a global theme park with genetically recreated dinosaurs where something has gone horribly wrong and the fembots have taken control. I suppose I ought to be pleased, having androids running the place. But at the moment, I feel more affinity to those tribeswomen in the cages than I do to these strange medieval fembots. The next time Kinta and her friend pay me a visit, I am determined to communicate properly with them. Kinta seems a reasonable person, and perhaps she will be able to give me some answers. Good morning, Brown Eyes, Kinta exclaims with an encouraging beam. I have had a rough night in the cage. I do not need sleep, but I did shut down a few non-essential systems to give my auto-repair mechanism a bit of a helping hand. I was dozing serenely on a pile of straw in the corner when I felt an abrupt shudder. At first, I thought I was dreaming. It was as if the ground was falling away from under me. Then I opened my eyes and realized that the whole cage was shaking. I flipped to night vision. All the torches had been extinguished some hours before, but none of the cave women seemed unduly alarmed. The night guard at the far end of the chamber was snoring happily away. Apparently, this kind of earth tremor is nothing unusual, though it did put my auto-repair mechanism back by a good 20 minutes. After the hose down in the morning, my systems are still not fully functioning, but I have thought of another way of getting my message across. I grab a stick from the mock foliage that has been set up in my cage and drag it across the sand. If Kinta transmits in English, which I think she does, then I am sure she will be able to read a few words written down in the same language. I have already seen her scribbling on a piece of parchment, making notes about me. I gather she is some kind of animal psychologist. Rodelle is with her. What's the human doing? She wonders. I have plenty of time to choose the right words. I go for the subtle approach. Let me out, I scrawl in the sand. I'm not human. At first, Kinta doesn't notice the words. I have to turn my back to her to scribble them across the floor, but a certain amount of gesticulation at last draws her attention to my feet. All at once, her eyes widen. Look at that, she exclaims. She's trying to communicate. Those are actual words. I nod vigorously. Rodelle is nonplussed. So, you were right. She does understand us. We must summon Dr. Zagrouse at once. Let her see just how intelligent this animal is. Kinta is bubbling with enthusiasm. For a moment, she reminds me of Professor Llewellyn, but she has rather missed the point about me not being human. Rodelle is troubled by the idea of summoning a higher authority. I'm not sure that's a good idea. You know what Dr. Zagrouse thinks of our research. She's a scientist, Kinta insists. She can't ignore the evidence of her own eyes. She's also High Priestess. Scripture comes before evidence. You know what she's like. Nevertheless, Kinta prevails, and within half an hour the woman in question is standing before me. Inevitably, Zagrouse is one of the thick-set models. Her hands are gripped tightly together behind her back. Her eyes look narrow and mean. This is the animal, Dr. Zagrouse regards me dubiously. Apart from the blonde hair, I don't see anything to mark her out. She's a very special animal, Kinta proclaims proudly. I really am her prized pet. Write something, Brown Eyes. I don't know why she picked that particular nickname. I write, not Brown Eyes, Sally. Zagrouse peers down at the words scrawled across the sand. My handwriting isn't terribly good, and in my rush to get out the words, I haven't made it all that easy to read. But Zagrouse is a doctor. She must be used to bad handwriting. It could be anything, the Fembot scoffs. The creature has seen you writing your notes and is imitating you. It's not imitation. It's proper words, I'm sure of it. Look, that's a B, and that, well, that might be an E. It was a lot clearer the last time, Rodelle puts in diplomatically. I hardly think it's your place to comment, Dr. Zagrouse snaps. You are just a student. Kinta is the professional. And I have to say, I believe you are both seeing what you want to see. This idea of delving into the psychology of animals is proving a blind alley. We need concrete science. If you wish to understand these animals, you must take them apart. Dissection is the only practical way to discover the truth. We are not keeping them as pets. They are vermin, to be exterminated. And your job is to determine the best way of doing that. Zagrouse looks across at the other specimens and sees the poor, wounded figure of Utaka in the opposite cell. That one looks half dead already. She gestures to the guard. Take that animal to the laboratory. Prepare her for dissection. Kinta and Rodelle look on unhappily, but they make no move to intervene as the hefty Fembot guard unlocks the cell door and takes hold of the unfortunate cave woman. Anger wells up inside me. It offends me to see human beings treated this way. I have no qualms about killing people. Show me a plane load of Nazis and I will happily cut them to pieces. But this is needless cruelty. And Utaka has been kind to me. She lent me those furs to protect me from the cold, even after I had shagged her husband. Granted, I don't actually feel the cold, and the fur was infested with fleas, but it's the thought that counts. Utaka really doesn't deserve to be cut to pieces in the name of science. She needs a nurse, not a vivisectionist. Fortunately, my auto-repair mechanism has just finished realigning my radio transmitter, and now is my first chance to test it properly. Mabala grabs the cave woman by the hair and starts to drag her across the floor, giving me ample reason to invest my first broadcast with all the contempt I can muster. "Take your stinking paws off her, you damned robotic ape!" Dr. Zagraus lets out a gasp of surprise. An actual, vocalized gasp. Kinta brings a hand to her mouth, and Rodell stares at me in astonishment. Mabala drops the woman and storms across to my cell. She doesn't care that I can talk like a fembot. She is too busy being insulted. She yanks open the iron cage, preparing to give me a good pummeling, but Zagraus steps forward and stays her hand. "You see, Dr. Zagraus," Kinta announces smugly. "She is intelligent. An animal that speaks." The doctor shakes her head, disturbed at such a bizarre notion. "It does at least merit investigation," Rodell suggests. "I'm not an animal," I say, transmitting to them all, and this time at a more moderate volume. "I am just the same as you." I reach behind my left ear and flick a switch. My faceplate swings open on a hinge to reveal a pile of circuitry and two bulging electronic eyes. Kinta and Rodell stare at me for the briefest of moments, then they look away in embarrassment. Displaying circuitry is obviously a major faux pas. Only Dr. Zagraus holds the gaze. She nods thoughtfully. "Very primitive," she admits, understanding at last. "But undeniably a fembot." The office is a well-lit cave with a stone desk and scrolls neatly archived in a recess in the wall. A leather strap below my chin is attached to a cord, which Fembot Mabala yanks with evident glee as I am led into the room. Dr. Zagraus is sat on a simple stone stool behind a huge desk, apparently engrossed in a particularly large scroll. She does not look up, but waves a hand to dismiss Mabala. I wait for what seems like an eternity. This kind of psychological gamesmanship is wasted on a fembot. I have the patience of a saint. As a fembot herself, Zagraus should be aware of that. However, when 1 minute and 13 seconds have passed, I decide to rise to the bait and break the silence. "You did want to see me?" I ask. Dr. Zagraus drags her beady eyes up and regards me with some distaste. "I ordered you brought here. You have caused quite a stir, declaring yourself in such a theatrical manner. I need to find out exactly what you are. You dress like an animal, but you are clearly of a higher breed." Fembot Kinta thinks I am a missing link between fembots and humans. I overheard the woman's furtive discussions with her partner after my circuitry was first revealed. Zagraus rises to her feet angrily. "That is blasphemy! There is no link between humans and fembots. We were created by the divine being in his image. Humans are animals. They developed through low biological processes." "Evolution," The doctor scoffs. That is one theory among many, but you do not fit into the grand scheme. What are you, Fembot? I'm a Fembot. I hate it when people answer their own questions. It gives you nowhere to go. But I was created by a human being. Zagros strides round the desk and slaps me hard across the face. Why is it everyone I meet always wants to slap me? I could start to get a complex about that. Liar! The doctor exclaims. The divine being created us. I met my creator. Believe me, he wasn't divine. He was a slimy little toad with wandering hands and delusions of grandeur. Zagros slaps me again. Her right hook is even better than mine. I stagger backwards and almost overturn a ceramic bust on a small table behind me. Blasphemy! The doctor thunders again. Humans do not have the intellectual capacity to create anything. They cannot even speak as you and I speak. They communicate through sound rather than radio waves. Nonsense! Those grunting noises are not speech, they're mating calls. I laugh. Isn't all speech when it comes down to it? Do not stray from the point. She glares at me angrily. Where do you come from, Fembot? Admittedly, that is a good question, though I am not sure if I have a good answer. I travelled here through time. I might as well tell her the truth. I think you exist in my future. That would explain why you are so primitive, Zagros concedes. She waves a hand skeptically. But time travel is impossible. Perhaps my civilization is more advanced than yours. I duck as the doctor aims another blow at my head. Blasphemy! She gives me a hard kick instead. I would happily thump her back, but she is one of the tough guy fembots. Not the kind you would ever see in a negligee. And if I raise my fist to her, I know she will beat me to a pulp. Our civilization has always existed, she insists. Unchanged since the dawn of time. Then how can I be more primitive? She frowns. Perhaps you were damaged. This human tribe, it lives beyond the Badlands to the south of here. Perhaps you travelled south long ago into the dead zone where none may tread. Your circuits became corrupted. You came to think of yourself as human, and then... She stops as the room abruptly starts to shake. The earth tremors are coming thick and fast today. The sacred scrolls rattle around in their recess but remain in place. Even the ugly-looking bust on the table behind me refuses to fall off. Dr. Zagros places a steadying hand on her desk, but, like the bust, she does not seem at all perturbed by the commotion. What is that? I ask as the tremor begins to subside. You show your ignorance. Our city is built on a fault line. A crack in the ground beneath our feet. There are always tremors, but our priests have it under control. The very earth itself does our bidding. What more proof do you need that fembots are a divine creation? And the dead zone, do you control that? Don't be absurd. What is this dead zone anyway? And why is nobody supposed to go there? The tribespeople had no trouble crossing it on their way to the fields, but perhaps we just clipped the edge of it. Silence! I am not here to answer your questions. She regards me with contempt. You are not worthy to be called a fembot. You will be disassembled, your inner workings catalogued and put on display as a warning to others whose curiosity leads them into forbidden places. I snort. And you call yourself a scientist? I am a high priest. I have been high priestess and chief scientist for 1,000 years. That is impressive, I have to admit. The title of chief scientist is an interesting one too. That is the title my creator, Dr. Eugene Lovelace, gave to himself. I wonder if these fembots are related to me somehow. And you don't remember a time when human beings were more civilized? There was no such time. Zagreus calls for the guard. The sooner we get you dismantled, the better. And the humans? They are vermin. We are close to perfecting a disease that will wipe them out. A little more research and we will be able to clear them from the face of the planet. I shake my head, stifling a laugh. Honey, you really need to get out more. Laugh all you like, the doctor snarls. You won't have much to smile about when the Brotherhood gets to work on you. Isn't it always the way? Just when you think you're beginning to get a handle on a situation, something happens to confuse you even more. Dinosaurs, Jurassic period, cavemen, the Stone Age, planet of the Fembots, okay, far future. And then you find an order of monks living within a set of caves deep beneath the city. Unlike the Fembots, these monks all have thermal signatures. They are bald, though they wear skull caps on their heads, and are dressed in long, finely woven robes. But they are not human either. They are robotic, like the Fembots. I have never seen anything like them. A word springs into my head, a word I have not heard in a long time. Mandroid. That was the ridiculous label my creator came up with for his revolutionary male variant of the Fembot. That creation barely got off the drawing board. But in the hundreds or even thousands of years since my time, the technology must have been rediscovered and perfected. I am surrounded by a phalanx of somber, silent, deadly mandroids, the Brotherhood. Their domain is a strange mix of the scientific and the spiritual. Flaming torches are everywhere, but there is electricity here too. It reminds me of a little laboratory in Transurania I visited, not so long ago. Except here the walls are more obviously part of a cave. I wonder at the source of the electricity. But then I'm wondering at an awful lot just now. One thing is obvious. This is where the Fembots come to be repaired. It is also, I realise with some surprise, where new androids are manufactured. It is strange that none of these people have any memories of human society. We must be so far into the future that every original Fembot has been lost. We are not indestructible after all, and there will always be accidents. Over the millennia, that is bound to add up. The theme park planet theory is beginning to grow in stature. I know how insane such places can be. The robed figures move about silently, but they are broadcasting chants in worship of their creator. I didn't have time to challenge Dr. Zagreus over the made in his image line, but I suppose it makes a kind of sense, if there are male androids here as well as female ones. I am laid out on a stone altar. I suppose it could be called a table, but this feels more like a ritual dismemberment than a scientific inquiry. I can't believe I am going to be put through the virgin sacrifice routine again. Why can't people just be nice to each other? A brother lifts up a nasty-looking device with lots of metallic teeth. It could almost be a chainsaw. It has a battery pack attached to it and a moulded steel handle. He yanks the cord and the device vibrates into life. It is a chainsaw. He moves over to me, his eyes filled with religious zeal as he prepares to lop off my head. "Wait!" a voice calls out, above the sound of the motor. The brother looks round in irritation. "We must purify her first." The second monk is dressed in elaborate robes, A priest, perhaps. The junior mandroid reluctantly switches off his chainsaw. She may be primitive, but she is a fembot, and she must be properly prepared. The priest gazes down at my hair in distaste. You see? Her scalp is alive with insects. She is not fit to be presented to the Creator. Undress her. Clean her up. Get her some proper robes. The other monk grudgingly agrees. The ground is shaking again, and the priest hurries off to a computer panel to make some fine adjustments. It seems these holy machines really do control the movement of the earth. Some kind of dampener, I would guess. It is just as well the monk switched off that chainsaw. Who knows what damage he could have done during an earth tremor? But then, I suppose, inflicting damage is rather the point with a chainsaw. I am released from the stone table, but a neck restraint is in place, and a fembot is assigned to drag me back to the cells while the monk hurries off in search of suitable clothes for my dismemberment. Mabala stands guard, as usual, outside the cage. This could be my last chance to escape. The cell door is firmly locked, however, and I am struggling to come up with a viable plan. Luckily, somebody else has already thought of one for me. Rodell has arrived at the cage door. I have a warrant from Dr. Zagraus to requisition the prisoner's clothes for analysis. Clothes? I am only in my underpants. Why is everyone on this planet obsessed with my knickers? Rodell hands the guard a piece of paper. While Mabala is looking down, the smaller fembot gestures for me to come forward, towards the bars of the cage. This isn't a proper warrant, the guard says, examining the note closely. It's just a receipt for a dozen oranges. My mistake, Rodell agrees. Abruptly, she launches herself forward and pushes Mabala towards the iron bars. I am waiting to grab her from behind. The guard struggles, but Rodell is quickly able to pull off her faceplate. She grabs one of the oranges from her knapsack. Here's one I peeled earlier, she says, and thrusts the squashy fruit into Mabala's electronic circuits. There is a flash of electricity. Mabala's arms jerk about randomly, catching Rodell a glancing blow, but then, all at once, the great ape slumps forward. Rodell stares down in bewilderment at the motionless figure. I've never done that before, she admits with an impish grin. It was Kinter's idea. Get the keys, I say. We need to get out of here. A horse and cart have been laid on a little way from the compound. The cart is full of melons. I squeeze underneath the cover as we navigate out of the city. I don't know why these two fembots are helping me, and I don't have time to ask. Once we are out among the crops, they pull back the sheet to tell me all is well. I've never been so nervous in my life, Kinter admits, her eyes gleaming with excitement. You should be safe now. There are no patrols out at the moment. They always retreat to the city when there are earth tremors. Won't you get into trouble for helping me like this? It's a possibility, Rodell admits. We took a foolish risk. I am guessing she only went along with this because Kinter insisted. The guard won't remember anything, Kinter reassures us both. She'll have lost her short-term memory when her circuits were scrambled. Even so, we should be getting back before we are missed. Rodell is clearly the worrier of the two. You have a dissection to perform this evening. I blench. You're going to dissect one of the humans? Kinter nods unhappily. Dr. Zagraus wants to fully map the human nervous system. The only way we can do that is to open them up. I try to choose the weak ones, humans who would probably die anyway. Like Utaka, I realize, she is probably already dead. So why did you help me? I couldn't bear to see you dismantled, Kinta confesses. You are a fembot, albeit a very primitive one. Something tells me you are a link between us and our animal past. Will you go back to the sharp-toothed tribe? I'm going to head south. I'm curious to see this dead zone Dr. Zagrouse told me about. You would be wise to steer clear of there, Rodell warns me. Kinta reaches into the back of the cart and pulls out a small wooden box. I've prepared you some food, she says. You don't want to go hungry on your journey. I frown. I'm a fembot. I don't need food. Not human food, anyway. Well, no, of course not, Kinta agrees, trying not to look hurt. She puts the box quietly back into the cart. I glance across at the fields of wheat. So, what are these crops for if you don't need to eat? We like to eat, Rodell explains petulantly. Our creator liked to eat. It is said he enjoyed a cheese and pickle sandwich on the day he created the man-droid. I blink in astonishment. They are talking about Dr. Lovelace, my creator. He had a cheese and pickle sandwich in his lunchbox the day he died. It is the same man. These fembots really are my descendants. And, of course, we grow food for the animals. The horses and the beasts of burden, Kinta explains. Hemp for rope, too. It all has its uses. Hemp. That must have been what Akbar and his friends got high on the other night. I hold out my hand. Thank you for helping me, I say. It was our pleasure, Brown Eyes. Kinta stares at the hand uncertainly, but her eyes are twinkling. She grabs hold of the horse and leads the animal back through the fields. Rodell follows anxiously behind. It will take me a couple of hours to find my way to the campsite. If this is an alien planet, it has a magnetic field, so I am able to navigate using my own internal compass, even if north and south are the wrong way round. I clomp speedily through the jungle, making sure to steer well clear of the various sharp-toothed reptiles I can hear milling around in the undergrowth. The loudest roars are coming from up ahead. Unfortunately, human grunting sounds are also coming from the same direction, so I have no choice but to investigate. As I feared, another Allosaurus is rearing its ugly head a little way ahead of me. Akbar and his fellow hunters have already surrounded the beast. They haven't seen me yet, though they are goading the animal in my direction. Spear jabs and loud cries are having their effect. The Allosaurus is on the run. These primitives really know what they are doing. They must have herded the beast right across the dead zone to get it here. I slip around the edge of a nearby tree. Akbar! I call out. He catches sight of me and his eyes light up. Golly! He leaves his men to their work and rushes over to me. His arms encompass me and he lifts me up in the air. He absolutely stinks, and his hair is riddled with lice, but I am glad to see him. He puts me down, his expression serious now. Utaka? I have bad news, and I know just enough of his language to deliver it. Utaka mata. His fists clench together. Fembot mata Utaka? I nod. So he knows all about the city. How could he not? He bangs his chest. Akbar mata Fembot. I laugh. I appreciate the sentiment, but I can't really see this sweaty, half-naked savage causing much difficulty to a city full of androids. Akbar is insistent. Jaconda,
matter, Fembots.
He pulls out his dinosaur tooth dagger, the Gioconda after which the tribe is named, and gestures to the Allosaurus. Suddenly I understand. The hunters are herding the beast towards the city. They already know that their women have been captured. This must be some kind of rescue mission. My mouth falls open in admiration. These primitives are not so stupid after all. A bloody great dinosaur attacking the city will provide a rather useful distraction. Perhaps we might be able to rescue the women after all. And if I can get back into the inner sanctum, I have an idea that may help me to get off this planet. Akbar, though, is only interested in revenge. There is something exhilarating about his naked aggression. I am immune to human sexual charisma, but I am still happy to give him a helping hand. He cuts himself across the palm of his hand with the dagger and smears the blood across his face. I understand the symbolism. He is putting on war paint. The other warriors follow suit.
Gioconda matter, Fembot.
Akbar exclaims, rejoining the fray.
Gioconda matter, Fembot.
The tribesmen agree. Getting the dinosaur through the uneven jungle and out into the cultivated land is a mission and a half. The tribe is only at half strength. A separate group of 12 men have been herding their own dinosaur towards the city. This one is a stegosaurus. I only glimpse it in the distance. As soon as these two great beasts come together, there will be carnage. I am not a paleontologist, but I know they are both aggressive, and I doubt they are about to become bosom buddies. It may be my imagination, but I have a feeling the cave people have done something like this before. Not to attack the fembots, but to save themselves trouble. Why kill a dinosaur yourself when you can goad 2 animals into fighting each other and doing the job for you? Humans may have lost their civilization and any sense of personal hygiene, but they have certainly not lost their cunning. The arrival of the dinosaurs in the city causes outright panic. These creatures do not usually wander so far inland. They live in the jungle on the far side of the dead zone. The fembots are not completely unprepared, but they have probably never had to deal with dinosaurs en masse before. While their soldiers are occupied, a select few warriors accompany Akbar and me into the prison complex. This area is heavily guarded. I have the gun that Kinta gave me, but it only has 6 shots. The sharp-toothed tribe have spears, however, and I have told them to aim for the center of the androids' heads to cause maximum damage. This is all very well for the regular fembots, but the reinforced models are another matter. Even Kinta's gun will be no use there. Needless to say, Mabala is on duty at the cells. Trust her to recover in double-quick time. At sight of the humans, she launches herself forward and brings 4 of the cavemen crashing down. They don't stand a chance. Another 3 join the scrum, and as luck would have it, the melee knocks the keys from Mabala's waist. These skitter across the stone floor towards me. Akbar has already spotted some of the women and is pulling at the bars. I grab the keys and start unlocking the cages. The women stream out gratefully and immediately join their men in the fight. Akbar is looking for Utaka's body, but she is not here. I know where her remains will be. I need to get into the temple anyway. I gesture off to the right. Looking back, I see Mabala on her hands and knees. Her faceplate has been knocked off, and the warriors are battering her with clubs, but she is not bowing down.
Skadad!
Akbar calls out to them. Get out of here. Sensible advice. The 2 of us lack that common sense. We are heading further in towards the temple. The ground starts to shake beneath our feet, another minor earth tremor, but it does not put us off. 2 other warriors join us as we make our way cautiously through the complex. I hear a cry from off to the left, a human voice. Akbar and his men follow me into a large, brightly lit chamber. 3 figures are standing over an operating table. Kinta, Rodell, and Dr. Zagraus. They have scalpels in hand and are about to begin a dissection. The woman laid out on the table in front of them is restrained but not unconscious. Akbar lets out a howl of rage. It is not his woman, but it is a member of his tribe. He launches himself at the table. Dr. Zagraus grabs him forcefully and knocks him back. For all his strength, Akbar is only a human being, and at once he finds himself flying through the air onto a table full of medical equipment. "Brown Eyes!" Kinta cries. "What are you doing here?" "Rescuing the humans." "I heard a dinosaur was loose in the city. 2, actually. I need to get into the holy temple." "It is forbidden!" Zagraus snarls. I raise my pistol, but it will be no good against a reinforced fembot like the doctor. I look to Kinta and Rodell for help. Rodell grabs a beaker of water from a side table and creeps up behind the doctor. Surely that faceplate and liquid trick cannot work a second time. It does. The doctor's body jerks and then collapses to the floor. Akbar, recovering his senses, releases the woman from the table with his dinosaur-toothed dagger. Another warrior springs forward to assist her. Her mate, perhaps? "You should go," Rodell says. "We'll all be killed if they find you here with us." "We must help them," Kinta insists. "Why do you need to visit the holy temple?" "I saw a battery pack there being used to power a chainsaw. My craft needs power. I think the battery might do it." "You do not need to go to the temple," Kinta says. "I know where the batteries are kept, with the other holy devices." "It's too dangerous," Rodell protests. "Not as dangerous as going to the holy temple. Bring your savage with you, but quickly. Put these on." She pulls out a leather neck brace. "Prisoner and escort." Akbar is not about to let a fembot ensnare him like that. I make soothing noises and manage to slip it on him while he is distracted. "It's okay," I say. "Utaka inside." I gesture confidently towards the door. The caveman frowns, but he nods reluctantly. He understands the concept of subterfuge. The other warriors make their escape back through the cells. We move out of the operating theatre and head quickly towards the Holy of Holies. The storerooms are situated just this side of the temple, according to Rodell. We pass a few fembots and a mandroid priest, but we are not challenged. Kinta is an animal psychologist, so there is nothing unusual in her transporting livestock around. And she clearly has us under her control. The storerooms are unguarded. All the soldiers are out fighting the dinosaurs. I can still hear the mighty beasts roaring in the distance. I think the Stegosaurus has the upper hand. A record keeper jumps to her feet at the sight of us, but she is a lighter model, and a couple of karate chops soon puts paid to her confusion. Rodell gestures to a row of batteries on a dusty shelf. "I don't understand what use these will be to you. They are holy items. They don't really have a practical function." She should have seen that chainsaw. The 2 fembots have released their grips on our neck halters, and Akbar has wandered off into another room. Abruptly, he lets out a howl. I exchange glances with Kinta. "Oh dear," she mutters. "I think he may have found the mortuary." Sure enough, I find the noble savage crooning over the dead figure of his mate, Utaka. There are tears in his eyes. He looks up at me.
Utaka mata,
He sobs.
Utaka mata.
I know, I say. His eyes fix on the two fembots.
Fembot mata utaka,
He growls. I look back. It might be a good time for you to leave. Rodell is already backing away. Thank you for all your help, I call out after them. Akbar grabs a railing and pulls it off the wall. It is a huge chunk of metal. He lets out a roar and charges after the two fembots. He hasn't seen where they have gone, however, and heads off in the wrong direction. I chase after him, and all at once we find ourselves in the Holy of Holies. This is the place where I was due to be disassembled. A monk looks round in alarm. Others are working at various computer banks. Akbar runs at them with the metal rod raised.
This is blasphemy,
One of them transmits, but the caveman cannot hear him. He aims a lucky blow at one of the mandroids and lops its head right off. Then he starts attacking the equipment.
Stop that!
Another monk exclaims. I cut this one off before he can launch himself at the savage. Akbar is in a red rage, smashing and destroying. Sparks are flying out of the machinery. Dials are whirling in alarm. Akbar, no! I call out. Damaging all this equipment is probably not a good idea. Almost at once, the ground begins to shake, and within seconds the walls are joining in the fun. It is just as I surmised. These machines have been holding back the earth tremors. Now that Akbar has reduced the equipment to a pile of mangled metal, we might well be in the middle of a full-blown earthquake. Akbar! Skadad! I yell. The sound of my voice rouses him from his fury. I grab his hand and pull him towards me. Mandroids are darting about hither and thither. Some are on their knees praying, others are desperately trying to repair the equipment. A fembot sees Akbar and takes a pot shot at him, but then the roof collapses on top of her. Masonry is falling about all over the place. The great statue of the Creator comes crashing down and shatters into 1,000 pieces. It looked nothing like him anyway. Behind it, a set of curtains are revealed, and as these drop away, I catch sight of a tunnel. That may well be our best chance of survival. Skadad! I cry again. We rush towards the tunnel. It is a long, crudely wrought affair, and on reflection, perhaps not the best place to be when the earth is shaking so violently. Huge fissures open up in the wall either side of us, but we press on regardless. Rocks are falling everywhere. It is only a matter of time before the roof caves in on top of us. Akbar is taking the lead now, pulling me forward. A huge crevice opens up before us, but he leaps across it and pulls me with him. In the distance, I can hear the sounds of distress from the people in the city. They will be lucky to survive this, the tribesmen or the fembots. Mind you, I don't exactly rate our chances either. We get another 100 yards, and at last the roof collapses on top of us. I knock Akbar forwards and jump on top of him, protecting his strangely denuded body as the huge boulders pummel us from above.
Gali!
He exclaims before a rock knocks him unconscious. Warning lights are flashing internally. I have been offline for 2 hours. My auto repair circuits have come into play, but the damage is extensive. I am still functioning, however, and still recognizably human. More importantly, the earth tremors have ceased. Akbar's body is warm beneath me. He is unconscious, but I can feel his heart beating. There is a bloody wound on his forehead, but otherwise he seems unharmed. I pull an arm free from under a rock and slowly begin to dig myself out. The tunnel behind me is now a solid wall of rubble. Up ahead looks promising, though. It may even be passable. I lift Akbar in my arms and stagger forward towards a glimmer of light. I come out into a large cave. Daylight is streaming in from above, but the hole is too high up to reach. I spend another hour exploring the ancient tunnels before I finally find an exit. A set of steps in the rock lead up towards the light. If I didn't know better, I would say it was some sort of escalator. I can hear the sound of waves outside beating down onto a pebble beach. Emerging into the bright sunlight, I lay Akbar gently on the rock in front of me. Then I look up and blink in surprise. There, embedded in the sand at the far end of the beach, is an enormous tricorn hat. Part of a head is visible beneath it. Incredibly, it is a face I recognize, a face I have seen before on my way to the National Gallery. Everyone thinks he is wearing an eye patch, but in actual fact, both of the eyes are visible. Admiral Nelson is staring across at me, his huge stone face impassive. I didn't travel in space at all. I am still in London in the far future. This is Trafalgar Square, which means the chronocapsule must be about 1.5 miles southwest of here in Knightsbridge, or northeast with the alternate magnetic field. This is the Earth, but the poles must have flipped at some point in the future. So the dinosaur theme park was developed here, in Britain. But what catastrophe caused mankind to revert to savagery? I think of the dead zone and the damage it can do even to Fembot circuitry. The answer is not rocket science. You really did it, I breathe. A nuclear holocaust. Humanity has destroyed the world, or at least their own civilization. And now the radiation leaves the cavemen denuded below the neck, and nobody lives much past 35. Oh well, it is rather sad, but it's not really my problem. I just have to get home. Always assuming I can fit that battery and work out how to get the time machine going again. But I am confident I will manage it somehow. The ground starts to shake beneath me, one last aftershock, and I fall forward, smacking headlong into the prone figure of Akbar. The impact rouses him.
Golly!
He exclaims. He takes a moment to find his bearings, and then gives me a toothy grin. I move to roll off him, but Akbar has seen his chance. He flips me over and grins again. Something hard is starting to press against my thigh. I look down. It is his dinosaur tooth dagger. I move it gently out of the way and smile up at him. My gorgeous, sweaty caveman. I suppose there is no hurry to get back to my own time.
Cookie tin, got it?
Akbar inquires. What the hell, I think. Cookie tin, Akbar. He kisses me roughly, and I let out a gasp of pleasure. Oh, Akbar! That was 1 million years AD. Written by Samantha Faulkner. Narrated by Alison Campbell. Copyright 2019 by Samantha Faulkner. For news of other titles in the series, visit the website fembotsally.com.